Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. We're going to do some Cavs thoughts because some big news on Saturday. A couple of big stories for the Cavs happening. The movement and the changes that people were clamoring for in the fan base. We got some. They may not be as big as you might think, but the Cavs did do a couple things on Saturday that I found really interesting. The first thing is they acquired Lonzo Ball. Yes, that Lonzo Ball, who missed the previous two seasons before this one with the Chicago Bulls and then played 35 games this year with Chicago. They get Lonzo Ball from the Bulls for Isaac Okoro straight up. And you guys may be looking at yourselves like, man, like what is this really doing? I was texting with my father because a lot of people I think have lost the plot a little bit on Lonzo Ball or have lost sight of things. When he's been healthy, he's actually been a pretty solid NBA player. And I think he's making 10.8, 11 million, somewhere in 11. It's around it was like about $1 million difference in salary between him and Isaac Okoro. And Isaac Okoro, I think, is signed up for like another 2 or 3 years. Lonzo's got, I think, a player option in 26, 27. And that'll be interesting to see what they do. So Lonzo Ball is actually a great defender. He can shoot it a little bit better than Isaac Okoro. He's a better playmaker. And the Cavs really have a clear issue facing them. And I think what they were looking at the situation is they face the real possibility that they're going to lose Ty Jerome. They're a second apron team. They can only offer him so much because I think they've got early bird rights, and it's just like it's very limited with what they can offer him in terms of their cap to keep him without facing a significant penalty financially. And they were looking at this and like it was a real possibility that Ty Jerome was not going to be back with them after his contract expired. And Ty Jerome, as great as he was bad in that Indiana series. He was a big reason why they lost that series. I mean, there was a lot of failures because they had to count on Ty Jerome because Darius Garland wasn't healthy. So backup point guard was an issue. I don't know how realistic it was that they were going to bring him back. But this trade for Lonzo Ball certainly mitigates that a little bit. He may start for a little bit. I think he started like 10, 12, 15 games for the Bulls this year. The key problem here is health that I think a lot of people are going to be concerned about moving forward. But with the Cavs, I don't think if he can get through that early stretch of the season where they're not going to have Darius Garland and he stays healthy, then his minutes will go down significantly. He'll probably be relied on to play like 20 some odd minutes. And as a second tier, that's a win. He's a better defender than Ty Jerome. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to score it as much, but the playmaking ability, I think, becomes a significant factor for the Cavs. Everybody's obviously going to think about Lonzo Ball and his dad. Look, I haven't paid much attention to the Charlotte Hornets and what LaMelo has done. Well, I haven't heard from LeVar Ball in God knows how long. So if that's really your concern about this trade, you need to go get your head checked because LeVar Ball has largely stayed out of the limelight and kind of let his sons play ball. No pun intended. So I'm actually kind of giddy about this deal because, for one, if Lonzo Ball stays healthy, I think the Cavs got better. I think they got better because they added Tyrese Proctor, the guard from Duke in the draft, who instantly got offered a roster spot. That guy was like a 40% 3-point shooter. You knew that Ty Jerome, it was very possible that he was probably going to leave. So you made a trade. Isaac Okoro was, as much as I love him, he did whatever he could. Defensively, he was a good player, but he couldn't shoot it. He couldn't score. This guy was the 5th pick in the draft 5 years ago, and he's still not a good offensive player. They had to find a way to, and it was that contract was really going to hamstring them moving forward. So to get off of that and probably get better, at least from an offensive perspective, maybe not necessarily from a scoring perspective, but from a playmaking perspective. You also get a backup point guard who can help you early in the season while Darius Garland's trying to get healthy, and then he's the second unit guy. Like, this is a win. And then even if it doesn't work, God forbid, it's an expiring contract, and I think it's a player option, or it's either a player option or a club option. I can't remember what it was. but there's a very real possibility that Lonzo Ball is off the books coming, and it'll be very interesting to see how this goes this season. But I actually think that this, for what the Cavs are limited in doing, everybody wants them to make this big move. There was rumors that they were going to try for Kevin Durant. There's people are trying to get Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Cavs. I just don't realistically see a pathway to doing that without trading Evan Mobley, and that's not realistic. So, I like that move. A lot of people are the secondary move, which is kind of more on a minor level. Sam Merrill, Sam Money Merrill, former 60th pick in the draft size for 4 years, 38 million, almost a $10 million a year contract. People looking at that number are like, man, the guy only averaged 6 points a game. Guys, if you look at the way the NBA is structured, this is how role players are getting paid. I'd like for Sam Merrill to be more of a value other than just being a shooter, but they clearly see something in this guy and they wanted to keep him and they made an effort to keep him and to sign him up for 4 years at about $9.5 million a year. Is it a risk? Sure. But I don't necessarily think that that's a bad move, because if you're the Cavs, you've got to do what you can to keep the guys that you value that are already in your organization. And I think I don't know if it was underreported. I think there was a lot of false sense of hope that we were going to be able to keep Ty Jerome in Cleveland. The Cavs, I say we, but this is me, the fan Mike talking, but also is like, kind of the analyst who watches these games. It's very interesting to see where this thing's going to go. But I've heard the Clippers are interested in Ty Jerome. I'd expect him to get somewhere in mid-level exception. I was hearing anywhere between 13 and 16 million a year. The Cavs just weren't going to be able to do it. Like they've got a bunch of salary commitments. But the question becomes now, what can the Cavs do moving forward? I've heard Max Strus's name tossed around a little bit, potentially as a movable piece. Jared Allen is obviously a big movable piece that they could have on an affordable contract. Darius Garland was mentioned in the Kevin Durant deal, but I think the Cavs are really still believe in them. And I just think really the two guys that I wouldn't even touch that I would say flat out no if they were asked for. Maybe if the Giannis deal came about, I would consider it. I just don't see how that's realistic at this point. Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, really, there's no scenario, really. There's hardly any scenarios that I could imagine the Cleveland Cavaliers even considering trading. But Saturday was a step in the right direction for the Cavs, because they moved off of what was deemed in a lot of circles an albatross of a contract for a player who was a fringe role player who really was an offensive liability and was really only there for his defense, and he couldn't make shots and really kind of was a detriment to them for the last two postseasons in Isaac Okoro, who I like, and I wish him well in Chicago. And separate from that, I don't know what the fuck Chicago's doing. There was talk that Lonzo Ball could have gone for a first-round pick, and they just got Isaac Okoro for him. They've traded away Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic is, I think, still there, and they've gotten next to nothing for any of those guys that core that team. And all they've done has been a 9th or 10th best team in the Eastern Conference the last several years. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. But Lonzo Ball, backup point guard who can start the year if he stays healthy, that's a win. And then keeping Sam Merrill in the fold when you thought maybe you might lose him in addition to Ty Jerome. Yes, obviously I understand what Ty Jerome meant to this team this year. But the more I think about that Indiana series, I was like, did we kind of overestimate Ty Jerome a little bit as an NBA player? He got a good opportunity, but when they needed him most, he failed them. And then coincidentally, game 5, when, the season was hanging in the balance, he played his best ball, and that was really the end of the season. So, interesting. And we're not even at the start of the new league year when free agency and trades are going to get crazy here in the NBA. But I like what the Cavs are doing. I like what Kobe Altman and Mike Yancey are doing to ultimately, set this thing up for next year. They're in a position to potentially contend for the East. People will snicker at that because they bowed out in the second round. It's like, guys, they were hurt. They had a bad matchup with Indiana. And you look at it now, Indiana's probably out of the picture, or at least on a fringe. And really, Orlando made a significant move. The Knicks are still there, but the Knicks don't have a head coach. Detroit is a young team, but still has room to grow. And then there's Philadelphia, and Philadelphia needs to worry about their own health issues. They drafted a rookie I really like, but they got to worry about Joel Embiid and Paul George staying healthy this year. Tyrese Maxey, they weren't healthy this year. So anyway, that's some Cavs thoughts for you guys here on a Saturday. We'll have a lot more coming here on the channel from a pro wrestling perspective. A lot of great stuff. Big month of July for wrestling, big month of July in the NBA. And we're obviously heading into training camp with football. A lot of things are going to pick up here over the summer, everybody. So we don't slow down here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. I'll see you guys soon.